Hey y'all, I'm Mike, the RV inspector and technician,
And I'm Elizabeth. I run our business.
and welcome to the Cozy Camper Podcast. So, it wouldn't matter. Oh, hey Debbie, how are you?
Well, good. How are you today?
I am thriving. Thank you for being here. You are one of the other, quote, YouTube RV inspectors like me.
Yes, and it's funny being on social media, like in any capacity, you with Instagram and everything too, and YouTube with me. Like I didn't have a plan necessarily with YouTube at first. I didn't even know that I was going to do YouTube. But when I first started trying to figure out how I was going to market myself, what I did was I went out to other YouTubers and I got on their channel. And that's kind of how I started doing it because I didn't really I kind of thought about a YouTube channel, but I was afraid of a YouTube channel. I didn't know what to do with it. So
Yeah.
then I just dabbled with it, and it was like the whole first year, they were awful videos. I didn't know what a hook was. I didn't know any of the stuff to get people to watch. I just started creating. And then I decided to take it a little bit more serious in year two. And now I'm in year three and I'm starting to grow.
It takes that long because even like I don't know about you, but I always feel like I'm like, oh, right now I'm in my stride, like I'm doing really well, like I like these videos, and then like I'll watch a video from like I right now we have a video that sometimes videos will like percolate like 6 months after you post them for no
Mhm.
reason at all, and we have one from like 3 or 4 months ago that's kind of percolating right now. It's probably over 100,000. It had like 5,000 views when I posted it, and now it's like over 100,000, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, ooh, those awkward pauses and all of the like deep breaths that you take. And now once you start to pay attention to that, you hear every single one. And that video maybe was 60 seconds. And then watching it now, I'm thinking that could have been 45 seconds if I had just edited all the negative space out, and it would have been so much tighter and crispier. So it's a never ending evolution. Like I feel like I'm getting incrementally better, but I don't recognize where I'm bad until I look back and I'm like, ooh,
Right.
that
Exactly.
that
And it's
wasn't so
really
good.
hard to tell people too when they're asking about like how to create a YouTube channel or how to be on social media. And it's like you almost just have to get out there and do it. Don't think about it so much. Just hit record and start recording yourself and make videos because your first 100 videos are just going to be crap. And you just have to get them out there. You disappeared. Oh, there you are.
You're back. You're back. You were saying that your first 100 videos are going to be crap.
They are. Well, maybe not 100, but a lot of them are going to be bad. And after 2 years, or I think it was, yeah, about 2 years, I finally went back and started watching channels about how to grow a YouTube channel. Like, why didn't I do that at first? I should have, but I am the type of person that will dive into something and then learn how to do it after.
Yeah.
So I just
There
need to get my hands in it.
there is a saying, don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough, right? And
Mhm.
it's I'll figure it out. And we have a part-time person that is helping us with our marketing right now, and her first comment was, you just do it. There's no time for committee. You just rip the band-aid off and we're going to go do this now. And for social media, you just have to try it. Like I sent you, by the time this video gets released, the video that I sent you last night will be out in the world.
Which was
And
hilarious.
thank you. I sent it to about 25 or 30 people trying to gauge the feedback, and everyone was like, this is hilarious.
Mhm.
Probably going to make some enemies with it. And I'm okay with that. But
Always.
but you just have to try it. And if you try it and it doesn't work, then like try something else tomorrow. But if you don't try, where are you going to be 5 years from now? You're going to be
Right.
5 years older and have not tried anything. And I see this. You mentioned year two was when you started to change things. And
Mhm.
for the listener, Debbie and I are both RV inspectors. You have a YouTube channel that's growing. And I think it's interesting because I think 5,000 YouTube subscribers is equivalent to like 50,000 Meta subscribers. There's like 10,000 YouTube subscribers is like huge, whereas 10,000 followers on Instagram is nothing. So it's definitely not a one-to-one comparison. But what I was going to say is that, one, I have no patience for YouTube, which is why I do this, because we can just hang out and talk, and then I'll edit it. And then because now you'll share me on your channel, I'll pick up a percentage of your followers, and then I'll return the favor on the Meta platforms where we're bigger. But 2 years is what I wanted to bring up. And I think 2 years I've learned about these, because we're kind of talking about two different businesses. We're talking about social media and we're talking about RV inspections, which are related for us. But 2 years is what I call the great filter. And if you put into it for 2 years consistently, you're going to hit your stride, and you're going to, if you're an inspector, that's where you're going to have developed relationships in your market, and you're going to get really good at doing the inspections, and you're going to have figured out what you don't know, and you're going to be on your way. If you make videos consistently for 2 years, you're going to figure out your filler word. Mine is like and You're going to figure that out. You're going to learn how to edit that out and avoid it. Your videos are going to get better, and that's when you're going to really start to increase. We're growing by about 10,000 followers on Facebook every 4 months or so right now. So, but the first 10,000 were excruciating to get, because those videos were rough. So it's interesting that I hear you say 2 years, because I've been thinking about, for doing next gen, you got to put 2 years into this business before you can have any thoughts about anything else. And you should be prepared to make no money for 2 years just trying to get online. Your first couple years in business, did you really make any money?
No, it was. So when I got out of school originally, it was really weird for me because I got out, went back to Michigan, and I was like the only inspector there. I started getting calls, and we were going into the fall season. So of course that's the busy season in Michigan. So I had inspection after inspection. I was really shocked that I got so busy. But all of a sudden I left the area because I was actually inspecting something on right before Christmas Eve in the freezing cold. Everything was, winterized, and it was awful. I was going to get frostbite on my hands. I just hated it. And I decided I was never going to do that again. When I got to Arizona that first year, then I just absolutely had nothing. I had 0 inspections. And then it was probably, I got into about February when I got a call, and I maybe had 2 inspections. And then in March, I got a few inspections. So it really did dip down, and it scared me because I invested so much money and time into this, and I had to make it work. But the following year, I did a little bit better. And then the following year, I really started to grow.
We were on about the same trajectory. The first 6 months, Austin, San Antonio is super crowded with inspectors. There's 10,000 people down here because the barrier to entry is low here. You can drive to Athens, stay in a hotel for that period of time. Whereas you coming from Michigan, it's a much bigger ask to go from Michigan. So there's, just by that nature, we're going to Illinois in a couple of weeks. There's really only one other peer competitor inspector in that area. Is Rob. He's a master inspector. I think the world of him. So if I got to compete with someone, it should be someone that is like a master inspector and one of the OGs, right? But whereas down here, there's 15 peer competitors, and it's we do well, but only after 2 years of this, of aggressive marketing and relationship building. It takes time. God help you if you want to go work in Florida. I don't know why anyone would go to Florida as a brand new inspector right now.
I have no desire. No, not Florida.
Well, when I was talking to Dennis from RV Help, we were having this conversation, and I said, even with all of this, even if I weaponize my social media to go after Florida, and we have more followers in Arizona and in Florida than we have anywhere else.
Oh, really?
That's where the RVers are. Yeah. And that's where the RVers are. And I would still have to scrap to make Florida work for probably 5 years before we could really be competitive down there, because there's so many people. So with that in mind, I don't know. I think a lot of people come out of the school. They get where you're at, where you're saying, hey, I went to Arizona. I didn't get any calls. and then they give up after 18 months,
Hmm.
19 months. And it's like that meme where you see the guy like mining for diamonds, and he's one swing away from finding the diamonds, and
Yes.
they just couldn't convert. And it's, I used to believe that the dealerships, their complaint was dealing with bad inspectors, but I think what they really are struggling with is the churn of inexperienced inspectors that are just
Right.
constantly evolving, and that very few people are breaking through the great filter and actually becoming proficient in this job. There's only a few. And like I told you, there's 15 in San Antonio. There's maybe 4 or 5 that have broken through the filter and are actually really skilled at what they do.
Yeah, it really is unfortunate. And I think that what you have going on with what you're building here is going to help people, because when I got out of school, I would have loved to have had somebody that could mentor me. I felt like there weren't a lot of inspectors at the time, and there were a couple people that I could call that I knew would have an answer. They weren't just peers that only knew as much as I knew. And so I was able to rely on them, which was really good and it helped me. But having some kind of program where I could get advanced training. And what I ended up doing was I thought, well, this is what I can do. I'm going to go back to Texas and I'm going to take the tech courses. So in 2022, I went back and did the tech courses, but I didn't finish my certification because I got there the week after air conditioning started. So I didn't get air conditioning class, but it taught me a lot. And then I started working on some tech jobs, just so I could get some experience, which really helped me understand the systems better. And then I thought, okay, let's take it a step further. Let's go and meet up with other inspectors that are out there that have been doing this a longer time, or maybe have, had more inspections. And I want to see how they do the work. So, but I had to take the effort and the initiative to call up people that were in other states, drive out there, stay at an RV park, and then go shadow them and learn.
Right.
And it takes a lot of effort. You really have to put in the time.
And this is, if you are actually serious about RV inspections as a career, and I want to unpack that, because I think a lot of people go to technician school and they're like, well, if I could do an inspection every now and then, that's cool. Like, they don't really care about it. And
Mm-hmm.
then other people think the barrier is lower and they're like, oh, sweet, I'll just do this. I don't have to buy tools. I'll just go in and knock it out, and then I'll put my pins out and everything will be fine. And that's not the case. And the
Mm-hmm.
inspectors, the pure inspectors who listen to this are, by the time this comes out, I'll have revealed this. Our marketing in Illinois is going to be, I told you there's other technicians or other inspectors in the area. Our marketing is going to be, we're the only highly rated RV inspector and technician that works in the area. And that matters because I've done more training. I have done other things. I really think that the association should bring back the level 1 and 2 inspector. And the level
Mm-hmm.
1 inspector is somebody who's just done the training. A level 2 inspector is somebody who is either a technician and or has done some kind of field training.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, because if inspector training is half as long as technician training, right? So
Right.
it would, you've done double the training or triple the training if you go back and you become a technician. Okay, cool. You don't want to stay in Athens for that long. I don't have an objection to that. But instead, you go work for Debbie for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And Debbie teaches you everything she needs. We'd have to figure out the economics of that. But some kind of differentiation between somebody who just blasted in for 3 weeks and now says they're equivalent to you or me, and then everybody else, I think would go a long way. And it's a disservice because, like you said, I had to call people when I was first getting started. I
Mm-hmm.
was so embarrassed. One of my first inspections, I had never had a hydraulic slide where it had one button and then one slide goes out and then the other one goes out. And I could
Mm-hmm.
not for the life of me. I'm like, where's the other button? This is broken. I'm
Right.
going to write it up. And then I asked the dealer and he's like, oh, yeah, dude, just hold it. And I felt 2 inches tall.
Right. Right.
And, now looking back, I'm like, well, that's a really common setup for hydraulic slides. And I knew how hydraulic slides worked, but I didn't know that some of them had just had one single button. And if I had any kind of field training, somebody would have taught me that during that time.
Absolutely. And It's really one of those things where, like, I was afraid to ask questions at the dealership. I didn't want them to think I didn't know. You want to appear that you have it all down. You're the smartest person. You know how to do an inspection. But inside, sometimes you really have a lot of questions. And there were times that I would have a technician just show up while I was doing an inspection and, hey, how's everything going? I could casually ask, yeah, I'm just kind of looking for this, haha, and they'd come over and show you. And it was like easy going. Other
Right.
times you may have to sit and look at a manual. You may have to pull out those manuals and see how something works. And now I might go to ChatGPT on my phone. Hey, Chat, how does this work in this model? And it'll tell me. You do what you have to do.
You do. And like I have had to, there was something came up recently. I was doing this inspection on it was like a 2005 Winnebago Westfalia. It was one of those like imported Class B vans where it had all the equipment from Germany. And
Mm-hmm.
I understand, I know as an inspector how to test the fridge. How do I turn the thing on? And I'm going through the manual to find out how to turn the fridge on. I'm going through the manual to find out how to turn the air conditioner on. And that's me at this point, years in, with all my experience, still have to do stuff like that. And that's okay. I had a kind of the opposite experience where I was inspecting an Ember. It was a little Ember travel trailer, and it was really cool. It had like 600 watts of solar on the roof. It had like 2.5 amp hour battery, a 3,000 watt inverter, really cool electronics on it. And it's different than most travel trailers where the inverter's like a pass through, so it's always on. If you turn it off, the whole thing shuts down.
Yep.
A different, newer inspector inspected that RV's sister model on the same lot like 3 days before I did. And I came in, I got to work, and the service manager comes up and kind of starts like quizzing me on how the electrical system works. And I'm standing there and I say, well, I haven't gotten that far yet. I know it has an inverter. Sometimes they have a pass through. I'll figure that out when I get in there, right? And the service manager was like, oh, okay, you understand. And then proceeded to tell me about this other inspector that said all the stuff was broken, just not knowing any better.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that sucks. I'm sorry that happened. Then a week later, I go do an inspection on a fifth wheel. And while I'm there, I'm talking to the seller, and the seller says, hey, I'm getting ready. Okay, you're back.
Yeah.
While I'm talking to the seller says they're selling this RV. They're going to go buy another one. They want an inspector. And I said, oh, what are you looking at? They said, oh, we're going to go buy an Ember. They have some at this dealership. And I said, oh, I just did an inspection on an Ember. And she said, we read about you. And I said, what did you read? And she said, on the forums, it said that there was an inspector who had no idea how to work the electrical system.
Oh,
and it was at that dealership by name. And I said, oh, hang on. That was not me. I can show you the inspection report. It was not me. I heard about that, but it was not me. So all of that to say, though, that, yeah, there should be some kind of advanced training. The listener may know that we're getting ready to launch exactly that. But when there's not, you get that person that goes out there and just salts the earth for all of the other inspectors that try to work in that area. Because I got to hear about it. I got to hear about every inspector who comes out and acts like a goofball.
Yeah, I know. And it's really tough because you're kind of on pins and needles too. And I mean, we all make mistakes. I'm sure in those first however many inspections that I did where I was, growing my sea legs and learning, I probably made a lot of mistakes. Maybe I wrote things up that I shouldn't have, or, looked at something and didn't know how to work it correctly. I'm sure it happened, and it's going to happen. That's why it's important to now, especially with so many of us, to just really get that extra training, be able to, because when we're in the school, we're really just looking at a couple different RVs. Can you hear my dog in the background? She's dreaming.
It's okay though.
That's what that is.
I got one right here. I got one right here too. He's asleep right there.
Okay. So yeah, you really only get a couple inspections, and you've got, like, I know with mine, we had like 4 different people. Like, we had a bigger team on one RV. And so all of us are looking at the RV. It was actually mine. The one I'm sitting in is the one I inspected. So we're all looking at the same Class C motorhome. And so we didn't necessarily get to get our hands in there for every type of test that we were doing. One person did it and the other people watched. And that's only one RV. That's one motorhome. There are that, and it's nothing like a Class A diesel pusher. So
Right.
you get out there in your first Class A diesel pusher and you're scared to death. So it's just it. I think this is going to be really great to have this kind of extra training for people, and because I'm getting lots of calls, like we've talked before, getting lots of calls from people that want to go to the school, that want to become an inspector, and they want advice. And I used to just say, "Oh yeah, it's great, and I love what I do. Inspecting's great. It's needed, blah blah blah." But now I'm starting to think I really want them to understand the reality. Where'd you go? I'm going to keep going. Oh, I'm by myself. There he is.
Yeah, sorry, you cut out. You were saying that you were getting a lot of calls by people who want to be an inspector.
Right. And so now I'm starting to kind of tell them that I really would like, you should talk to people that are newer out there and see how business is going for them. You should really understand that you're probably not going to make money right away. You are going to need to find a way to market yourself in a way that gets you known, and you have to build up a following. I mean, it's just, there's a whole lot that goes into it. And the other thing is a traveling inspector. I thought that I would be able to travel all over the country and do inspections, but it is really not the case. If you travel,
Those
you lose everything.
those days are over. I
Mhm.
saw someone that said, "Oh, when I first started 7, 8 years ago, I could just, go around the country and pick up inspections." Those days are over. And, we have two service areas. We go from Texas to Illinois. And Texas is really mature. It's a well developed service area for us. In Illinois, we think after this year will be equally well developed for us. But
Mhm.
we're giving up ground by going from Illinois to Texas. There's no question that Texas is more. We have a more developed business here, and we're kind of anxious about it. We're like, I don't know how this. But then again, we've already booked like 3 or 4 inspections in Illinois. We're not even there yet, right?
Oh, good.
Um, but these people that expect they're going to travel the country and they're going to get inspected, it's probably not going to happen. At least not in the way. If you're someone who wants to do 1 or 2 inspections a month, maybe then. But if you're someone who wants to like do this full time and as a business, it's going to be really hard. And in full disclosure, when we decided that we wanted to do this, our first priorities were, one, we want to make more people aware of the RV inspection service so that there's just more business
Mhm.
in the country. And number two, we wanted to become the most prominent RV inspection company in the country so that we could go around the country at will and kind of rely on social media for our marketing. But that we started that 3 years ago, and that's not the case. We are prominent, but we are not in a place where I can just say, "Hey, I'm going to be in Milwaukee. Let me inspect your stuff." Right?
It's funny because I was in Michigan. It was not last year, because last year I went to Colorado, which Colorado was really good to me. And I did make that a service area. I had tons of inspections in the Denver area. But I'm normally in Michigan every summer. And I got so many Michigan calls, and I felt really bad because I was not there that last summer. And the year before, I left early before fall so that I could go see the South Dakota area and travel. Well, I thought, oh, I'll be fine. I will leave Michigan and I will go into South Dakota and I'll pick up business along the way and I'll do all this and that. Nothing. I left Michigan. I had Michigan calls coming in left and right because I still showed that as a service area, and I was not there and I had no work. I almost ran out of money completely. I was like on my last like $1,000, I think, and I was trying to survive to make it back to Arizona. It did not work at all.
No, it's very challenging because we've talked about Colorado too. We've said, well, maybe we get sick in the Midwest, we want to go to Colorado, but then we'd be starting this process all over again, right? Where we'd have to set up a business website and spend a year doing search engine optimization and have a Google business profile for that area, and it takes a year. So we were like, we're
So
sticking to Texas and Illinois.
with your website, you set up a separate website completely for the Midwest?
No, we broke out just a page. And like the homepage says this is all the areas we work, and then we have a separate page. Actually, we're about to have two separate pages for the Midwest because
Okay.
we're finding that we're ranking really well in Illinois, but not in Wisconsin. So the suggestion from the website team was to break out a separate page just for Wisconsin.
Who do
And
you have
so
doing your website?
we could talk about it off
Oh,
air. I'm not super thrilled with them, so I don't know that I'd go as far as to recommend them. But actually, let me rephrase that. They're doing better because they listen to this, so they're doing better now than they were 3 months ago. But the jury is still. We had a little come to Jesus conversation pretty recently, and I was like, we
okay.
spend kind of a lot of money doing this, but the jury is still out. But yeah, we break out a page that's separate. So like if you go to our homepage, there's the first thing you see is, are you in Texas or are you in the Midwest? And if you can click wherever you're, whatever
Ooh,
service
nice.
area. And then if you're in the Midwest, it's basically the exact same, except instead of saying Austin, San Antonio, it says Chicago, Milwaukee, Des Moines. And that's how we're doing that. But again, this is really, we've just completed year one on working on SEO in Illinois. So we're now into year two. And last year we went there. We were only there for about 2 months, and we did pretty well.
Mhm.
But we relied a little bit more on the old locator um, than I was really happy with because we were behind the ball. So we'll see. But we might be back here in Texas by July if things don't go well. And I think that's important for people to hear is you've got a large YouTube channel. We've got this large meta following. That by itself is not enough.
Right. It takes a lot of effort in all areas. And you have to see what works for you. I've got to make a decision because Arizona is my main area, but I need to know where I'm going to actually hang my hat in the summer because I like to go to Michigan because that's where my sister is and my son, and I want to see him and spend time with him. But I love it out west, and so I absolutely adore Colorado. But if I keep changing where I'm going to go in the summer, it's hurting my business, not growing it. And I really need to figure out where I'm going to hang my hat in the summer months, and that's a decision I have to make. So when I go back to Michigan this year, now there's more inspectors there than there were when I was there last time, and they have built they've established themselves there. So I'm not the only one anymore, and there's a lot more to choose from. So we'll see how it goes this summer. And just like you, I may have to leave.
Right. And I think that is and I was having this conversation with a technician too, they're full timers on the road and they're not super satisfied with how much business they're getting. And I'm like, well, it's because there are so many small businesses now. The days of being able to move as a solo practitioner, I think are coming to an end. Our solution for this is, I think in the winter or spring of this year, we're going to hire an inspector to work in Austin, San Antonio, at least one. And it'll be like a part-time job. We'll pay by the job. We'll pay very well, but that way we can keep the momentum going in Central Texas when we're not there. And then maybe we do the same thing in Illinois. That can be a seasonal job because inspections stop in the winter. So it's like, all right, well, seasonally, then we can have somebody there and we can repeat that process. Okay, I was in Austin. That we've got Austin humming. I can do it again in Houston, right? And
Right.
then when Kat listens to this, she's going to be mad at me because maybe we can do it in Dallas, right? But but that's the nature of growing a business is if you want to take your foot off the gas completely, you're going to lose all that momentum. So kind of our conversation is, well, how do we keep it going even when we're not here? And hiring someone to work when we're not here is probably the best idea, but we didn't have the presence of mind to do it 6 months ago, to hire that person 6 months ago and start that process.
So I have to know where you came up with your name because your name is awesome. Cozy Camper is absolutely a great business name.
I thought you meant Michael. I was like, my mother gave it to me. No,
Well, that too.
So, No, so Cozy Camper, we started as a RV rental business, and our RVs were all small. Cozy Camper, they're small
Oh,
campers,
really?
and yeah, and so that was where it started. And then I went to tech school to just not lose my behind doing repairs on our rental fleet. And then we quickly realized, oh, there's a lot more. It's a lot easier to make money doing inspections and repairs than there is, renting out these RVs. But I had already, this process that we're describing, I had already done so much work under the Cozy Camper banner. I didn't want to start all over again, so we just kept the name. And we changed our LLC from Cozy Camper Rental LLC to Cozy Camper Mobile RV Services, and that's where we are now.
That's great. So you had an idea on how to run a business already, because I'm thinking you you really have a good knowledge of, website design, how to create SEO, the business name, everything. Like, you seem to have all your stuff together in that area.
I have, and I shouldn't say I have a business mentor. His name is Mitch. He owns a number of companies. We were friends. We were cops together. And when we were cops together, there's a lot of downtime when you're a cop. And using that downtime, he taught me a lot of this stuff because he owns, he's got like 100 employees. He was working a cop job because he wanted to, not because he had to. And I was kind of like, well, I sort of have this interest. And he spent a lot of time teaching me this stuff. And the thing though that I don't know. I feel I have imposter syndrome, right? I don't know that I'm this Rockefeller type, but not Elon Musk. But the thing though that he had to work the hardest to teach me, and I think this is true of like virtually everyone who transitions and becomes running their own business, is there's a difference between employee mindset and business owner mindset.
Mhm.
And I think this is at the crux of so many complaints that I see in the inspector community, is they're all expecting somebody else to solve this problem for them. They're expecting RV help to get them so many leads they don't have to do anything, or they're expecting this entity to do whatever for them. And I think RV help is great. I think they're going to do really well. I love the association of the school. They've been a boon to me. But if they all exploded in a plane crash tomorrow,
Mhm.
my business would continue.
Mhm.
And that is, I think, the difference between employee mindset and business owner mindset that so few people understand. And it's really hard. My wife just stepped outside. It's really hard to like beat out of people the employee mindset where, where like, oh, well, that didn't work, I guess we're screwed. It's like, no, we got to dip and move, and we got to figure out a new solution. And if that didn't work, what can we try next? What was successful about this thing and what wasn't? Like, you can't be successful in business if you're just going to throw your hands up when something doesn't work out. And
Right.
it's tough to learn.
Like even with pricing, I mean, how many times did you adjust your prices when you first got out? I felt like I didn't know I looked at what the school put as a standard, and I was doing 3 tiers of inspections, just like they taught us. And I got myself, I'm like such an ADD person that I couldn't figure out, like, okay, this price and this price and this price, and they were all odd numbers, and it didn't work for my brain. So I just started like, I'm going to do even numbers. And I went down to 2 inspections, then I went down to 1 inspection, and I changed my whole pricing, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper so that I have a document on what I'm charging, and I can give myself a raise as time goes on. And I just change all my pricing so there's no guessing. I go in, I look at my sheet for my business because I know it works for me,
Right.
and that's what I do. But
I mean, that's exactly it though, is you made like 10,000 tiny adjustments until you found kind of the right groove. But even now we encounter something that, so pricing, if you want to start an argument among RV inspectors, just say the word pricing, and
right.
everybody's going to be offended no matter what the price
Mhm.
is. And, we had somebody, and for the listener, we have a great blog post that explains all about RV inspection pricing. But if you look at it this way, right? Everybody says the inspection takes 8 hours. That's kind of what everybody says. Some are a little faster, some are a little slower, but about 8 hours. The shop rate in this area is $200 an hour. So $1,600 is what the math would be there. Now, I don't charge that much,
Mm-hmm.
but I can certainly understand why any inspector would be over $1,000 on most inspections, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
all of them, because a teardrop trailer doesn't take 8 hours.
Right.
But, Class A diesel pusher, yeah, you could and should be over $1,000 if it's going to take you 8 or 10 hours and there's fluid samples and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy in Waco, and he's one of us, and he's charging $350 an hour for diesel pusher, or $350 for diesel pusher inspections.
In total?
Yes, $350. And I'm like, that, what are you doing? Like, how?
Why is he even doing this? He could work at the local gas station and probably make money.
I crunched the numbers. I was like, you're making $7 an hour. If that's right. Like, by the time you're all done, you're making like less than minimum wage.
What in the world?
And, everybody is coming out of the woodwork, and this is what kills me. So I'm getting people yelling at me saying, well, hey, maybe that's all that person can get in that market. And I'm like, I work in that market. I know how much people are paying in that market. I'm also, hear me out, I'm not the highest priced in this market. I always aim for the middle. That's what I aim for when I working in a place. I find the high bidder, I find the low bidder, and I try to get in between them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and then I had somebody kind of coming after me, and they were saying, well, you're charging too much, and we work in the same area, and we don't charge as much. We don't have, near as much business as you do. As I'm like, so wait a minute. You're telling me that I work twice as much as you, and I charge 40% more than you, and I'm the problem? Like that doesn't track. Like that's not realistic.
Right. Oh my God. Oh, we had somebody that was kind of doing something similar back when I was in Michigan. And I don't know who they were, but they were charging, it was under $500 for any inspection. And that's just what they were doing. And so they were taking a lot of the inspections out. They were stealing the market. But, you're going to have them in all the areas. And he disappeared again. Oh, there he is. Oh, now he's gone again. There he is.
All right. There she is. You were just saying that you ran into a situation in Michigan. You don't know what they were charging.
There was somebody that was out that way, and they were charging like under $500 for any inspection, and it's kind of a similar thing. But you're going to have these people and these areas, they just want to get the inspection, and so they really underbid. And what are you going to do? I mean, people can pick those people if they want. I don't know if they're getting as quality of an inspection. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to work for that little amount. I mean, I bust my tail out there. I'm climbing on roofs. We're going underneath. We're getting filthy. I mean, I come home and I'm blackened on my arms. I've got dirt in my nails. I'm sweating, and my hair, like, I don't look like I do on YouTube. I certainly, I'm a mess. And I worked for that. I work for my money, and that's my valuable time.
You're also taking all the risk, right? Like, if you miss something or you make a bad call, like, that comes back to Debbie, not to,
right,
some company. And if you're realistically, I can go work at the grocery store if that's how much money I want to make, exactly. Right? Like, I made more than that a lot more than that when I was in law enforcement, right? And, not that it's without risk, but you also kind of don't have the responsibility that comes with, running your own business. So, and that's why the business owner makes more money, right? That's how this
right.
works. We talked about hire, and that's just the thing. And we're not going to reveal the numbers here, but we were talking about how we would pay our employees, our employed inspectors. And I was like, I'm probably going to end up paying them like double or more what that guy in Waco is charging. So why would you want to be that Waco dude who's charging $350,
right,
when you could come work for me and make twice that and not have any of the risk of owning your own business? Like, that sounds like a really good deal to me.
It does.
And so it's like, I don't know why, just stop. Like, I could clean air conditioner coils, which is way easier than doing an RV inspection all day, right? I could clean black tanks, you don't really need a lot of skill for those jobs. I do that, but it's kind of unskilled labor, right? You don't need a huge amount of training. and you would make more money than that. So I don't know why. I don't know why you would want to go out and do it.
Yeah, I don't know why either. The only thing I can think of is maybe they're trying to get training. I know when my friend Lisa, she got her RV, she said that the inspector that she hired that was in Utah, and it was the only inspector, and they were brand new. It was their first inspection, so they gave her a really good deal, and they did the inspection for $500. And she still talks about him to this day. It was a great experience, and he was really nervous, but she, and he gave her that great price and stuff. And I think, okay, I can understand that. Like, if you really want to get business and you're brand new and you're upfront with people and transparent, and you say, I'm going to give you a good deal, but this is like my first inspection. I'm learning, I'm
Right.
growing my business, so you're going to get a discount, and I'm going to do that for the first 6 months of my business. I can understand that. But somebody that's just going around practically doing it for nothing, just to work for nothing, it doesn't make
Right.
sense.
And I think, and I don't have, you said, you actually made a really good point when you said, oh, hey, when you're first getting started, we did that. Our
Hmm.
first 5 or 6 inspections I did for like half off. And everyone who asked, I was like, hey, I've been around RVs for a while, but this product is new to me. So just know that. And I did a couple for free for people that I knew. I reached out cold to people on Outdoorsy, like, hey, you have an RV, I have an inspection, let's make this work, right?
Yeah,
Just trying to get some reps in because I thought it would be beneficial. But you can only do that like 5 times. You can
right.
only do that a few times when you're first getting started before you become the cheap guy in town. And and so, we just heard the story about somebody who charged like $4,500 for an inspection in Dallas.
Yep.
If it wasn't a travel inspection, that seems unreasonable to me. Uh, but there's $500 wedding photographers and there's $50,000 wedding photographers.
Hmm.
Both people are taking pictures at a wedding.
Yep.
There's some difference between the product, right? And I have that conversation. We had that conversation today. We got underbid on a Super C. And they called and they said, no, yeah, you can go hire that guy who's not a technician, who has done less work, who has less proof of what they've done before, or you can hire us and pay a little more and you get all of this. And they booked with us, like for
There you go.
a lot more than the other person. But that other person has been in business for as long or longer than I have. So you're beyond the, and I think that's the tough thing is that not everyone who gets into this business is gonna make it.
No, and
They're
the communication skills are absolutely super important. And if you are, it's like when you're a physician and you could be really good at textbook and you can understand every ailment, every diagnosis, and how to treat somebody. But you walk in that room and you have poor bedside manner, the patient's not going to like you, and you're not going to have a good review because they are going to look at you like you didn't even say hi to me. You didn't,
right.
you didn't even talk to me. You didn't even ask me how I was. So you have a background with dealing with people because you're in law enforcement. You understand how people work and how they tick. You know how to talk to them. I have a background in communication from healthcare. So the whole goal was to make people feel comfortable to talk to them. I had to go into people's houses every day, and they were strange neighborhoods, strange houses, no matter what it looked like, filthy, disgusting people that had nothing, and I still had to treat them like a respectable human being. So communication is absolutely huge, and when you can communicate with people, you can get really far.
You know, I agree, and for a lot of people, because most people who come into RV inspections are coming in for, or technicians are in our side of the world, they're coming in for a second career. They had some other career, and they're coming into. So yeah, you're right. Like in law enforcement, it's people think it's like, oh, it's all about like solving the crime. 90% of the job is just talking to people and figuring out what's going on and talking them off the ledge. So sometimes literally talking them off the ledge, but done that a couple times. But if you can just learn how to talk to people and get them, just calm them down,
Hmm.
explain things to people, you're gonna go. You're if you can harness that, you're gonna go really far.
Hmm.
It's like an Office Space though, where the guy's losing his mind. Like, we talk to the customers so the engineers don't have to. The engineers, some of them are RV inspectors, right? And
Yes.
they don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to operate a business, and they might be like amazing inspectors or technicians and so good at what they do, but they can't talk to people. They don't know how to talk to people and market themselves. It feels absolutely ridiculous to do it, but there's a reason that realtors take giant photos of themselves and put them on billboards, right?
Hmm.
Why do they do that? So the people are like, oh yeah, that guy's a realtor, I should hire him. Like, that's exactly what sole practitioners in this space should be doing. And if your profile picture, I say this all the time, if your profile picture is like you cropped from like a wedding, and like you can see like half of your husband's face, and the picture or your I'm gonna get really specific, or your photo is from your prior military service, which obviously terminated in the 90s, right? And like, and that's your profile picture. Like, I'm so grateful for your service, thank you. That's not being facetious, but it is not appropriate for you to use on your business listing. Like, you could talk about your service and how that has affected you as a business owner, sure, but what do you look like in 2025? Not what did you look like in the
In high
Navy
school,
during the Clinton
right? Or
in
in
the
prom.
Clinton administration. Like, yeah, should I put my Letterman jacket photo in my profile? I have it. It was on my mother's fridge to the day she died. So
Right.
like,
Hey, I could put my 80s hair where it was like out to here and showcase that. Like, look at that. I was young and skinny.
oh yeah, I have a picture. Elizabeth's not here, otherwise she'd be laughing. It was 2005, and I had the frosted tips, like Justin Timberlake, right? I had the frosted tips, and I had the chain, and I had on a Blink 182 T-shirt from the tour that year.
Hilarious.
And like, is that appropriate for me? Like, that was 20 years ago. That photo is not appropriate for me to use in the 21st century. So,
Or they're
um,
not using
it,
any photo and it's just like the blank shadow picture. Like, who's going to hire you?
and Or here's the thing. I don't know. You mentioned AI earlier. I use AI for every damn thing, and I'll go to ChatGPT, for example, on RV Help profile, and I'll say, "This is what I want to say. Um, this is what's important. Say it in this guy's style, and put it out there." And then it'll generate it, and I'll be like, "Okay, change that, change this, different emoji, go through it, make it my own, then put it where it needs to go." Right? I see so many profiles on RV Help that talk about anything other than being an RV inspector, right? And you know and it's like, oh, I've owned RVs for 20 years. Sweet, I've lived in a house for all of my life. Does that make me a good home inspector? Like,
It's really funny that you say that because, and this is what I mean by the progression of learning and just not knowing until you know. But you're always got to be looking out and learning. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's one of the things I love doing. And I listen to people that like Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you've ever watched him, but he has some great people on there. And someone was talking about how you market yourself and the type of picture that you would take if you're a business or something, and especially if you're a female. And I found it really interesting because I had this picture. I've always had this picture of myself when I first started with my NRVIA hat, my glasses, my hair back, because it's more professional. But I had taken a picture of myself with my hair down, more makeup and like YouTube looking. And I had that picture on RV Help. And she basically said that you don't want a picture like that. You need it to look more professional. You don't want to fully smile. You want to have like, you can have a closed mouth smile. And if you have glasses, wear your glasses. And you need to. So I went and changed my photo on RV Help because I thought, oh my gosh, I did it wrong. Like, that's not going to attract a person. Now, if I was on a dating site, maybe, but if I am trying to get hired for a professional job, they don't care if my hair's down and curled and they want to know that a professional is going to be doing the work. So you're always learning.
that's, yeah, like, I had it wasn't this exact shirt, but it was an earlier iteration of this shirt that I have in mind. And just, I'm doing my
Yeah.
right. And that's like, that's really, I mean, I paid the photographer. It was 2 years ago that we took that headshot. It's getting to be time to take a new one. But yeah, like, because then you can use it for everything, right? You can put it on business cards, and you can throw it on your website. You can put it on RV once you have it.
Hmm.
And like, if you're a business owner and you're not willing to do that bare minimum pay $300, hire a photographer, and that's how much that costs. So not
Hmm.
a lot, and it's a tax write-off, right? So,
Hmm.
um, you know, we don't give financial advice. That was just my observation.
Right.
But the if you can't even be bothered to do that, if you're using some silly photo, you're not gonna survive, and I don't know that you should survive. And I caught Debbie. I don't know if you saw it. I caught a lot of flack because there was a conversation, and the conversation was, hey, the way this locator works, it favors experienced inspectors over new inspectors. And my comment was, I was like, I don't know that it should favor new inspectors. Why should a new inspector
Hmm.
hold the belief that they're going to compete, they're going to come out and be competitive with you or me, right? Like, that's
Hmm.
not reasonable.
Hmm.
It's not a
Right.
reasonable belief.
Yeah.
And I don't, do you understand why does anybody hold that perception? Because I went to the school. They do not tell you that you're just going to come out and light the world on fire. That's not, they say you can light the world
Right.
on fire,
Right.
right? We're going to give you the
Right.
skills, but they don't say you will.
Right. Exactly. You have to work for it. You have to earn it. It's a lot, and it doesn't stop with just that. And it's funny because right now all I'm thinking about is, okay, what are my next steps? And what are my goals for this year? And what classes do I take? Do I go ahead and finish up and get the air conditioning class and get certified? Because having that extra certification only helps me with my business and for showing people what I know. Because just saying registered tech doesn't mean anything. And I can say I have advanced training in these courses, doesn't mean anything. I need to have the full certification. And then, what other training classes can I take? Where can I go next? Like, what can I do to up the ante? And, part of the things that I'm working on this year are doing more going with techs and doing more shadow work. That's how I find out a lot. I learn a lot from going with other technicians and shadowing them with their work, or doing, like, we replaced my air conditioner. I didn't take the air conditioner class, but I had Scott come over. He changed the air conditioner for me, and I got to video the whole thing. I get to watch, I get to learn how to do things. It's constant learning. But you always have to set new goals. Like, where am I going to go next? What am I going to learn next?
Yeah, and there's no harm in the attempt, because so I always go to, actually you should, I'm going to be in Elkhart in June for the Lippert Academy. You should go.
Oh, I
But
will.
yeah, it's halfway between us.
Yep.
So the so Elizabeth and my son and I, we're going to go. This is a sidebar, but we're going to make, like, I think it's 3 days, but we're going to do like factory tours and stuff when we're not in
I want
class.
to
It's
do
going to
it
be real.
too. Maybe I'll just meet you and go with you.
Yeah.
That was my plan.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's no harm in it. But somebody asked me, because I ended up not being able to go, but I was gonna go to like the 2 day Dometic thing, and I've done the 2 day Dometic thing like every year since I've been in this business, and I always take something away from it. But somebody asked me like, "Oh, what are you gonna take away from it? You've done it before." I'm like, I don't know, maybe something, right? Like I'll maybe I'll learn some weird trick that I'll never ever need or use one time in my career. I don't know, but it costs like $200.
Yeah.
There's nothing lost except some time in the attempt. And if like I get there and it totally sucks, I'll just leave, right? But what's to be lost in the attempt? So like when I see people complain about like, oh, I didn't get enough CEUs, like, dude, it's so easy to get CEUs, and
Yeah.
it's so beneficial to do continuing education. Like I'm so stoked. I was gonna go actually here in May to Elkhart, do the Lippert class, but we're gonna be like just getting there that week, and it didn't feel reasonable to like burn into town and then go straight out to Elkhart.
Right.
But anyway, like even me, uh, I just did the Aquahot class like second half of last year to get certified in that. Like I want to go to spider controls and do Truma coming up. Like I work on those things. I know how to fix them, but like you go to the class and then you're like, oh god dang it, like it took me 4 hours to do that, and there's like three buttons you can push and do it in 10 seconds.
Right.
But you don't know that because you didn't go through the class.
Yep. I know. There's so much. By the way, before I forget to tell you, guess who called me today? And I have an inspection on Friday.
Oh, who?
Mark Kohler.
Oh, Mark J. Kohler. The
Yeah, Mark J. Kohler. I am doing his inspection on Friday.
Nice. What is he getting?
It's a fifth wheel, a redwood, 2022 redwood.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I didn't think he was actually an RV person. I thought he was like RV adjacent.
I didn't think so either, but apparently, I don't know exactly the whole story, but Brenda contacted me from the school. She said,
Okay.
"Are you available? We have a VIP that needs an inspection." And I'm like, "Who's the VIP?" Mark Kohler. And I'm like, "You're kidding." Nope. He's
You know,
fifth wheel.
it's funny because this came up between I'm not going to reveal who it was, but this came up between like me and another inspector that I had a client that reached out to me and I just couldn't make it work. It was in another part of the country, and they were like, "Oh, hey, like, then I'm like, hey, I can't officially tell you who to look for, but if you were going to look in this area, you might notice XYZ, right?" And it's like there's like this almost like shadow cabal of RV inspectors that like all know each other, and they're like, "Oh, you're looking for this, and you're going to be there. This is the person that you should call."
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's like I didn't know you were going to Michigan. I had somebody a couple of months ago reach out about Michigan, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to be there. There's a master inspector, but he's in Illinois, so it's going to be so expensive to get him out there to go." Um, but that's good though that she recognized that, like, hey, you were the one, like, you're the one that
Right.
if somebody can be trusted to do this for the VIP, for someone who has helped many RV inspectors and technicians with their finances and legal issues,
Yes. I
I think
know.
that's great.
I
So
know.
when are you doing the inspection?
It's on Friday. And I thought, wow, this has to be my most perfect inspection. Not that any of them are not perfect inspections, but I'm really like, oh my gosh, perfect inspection.
Yeah, it's
They're
it's
bright,
tough when
and it's
there's
camping world too.
we I did one. I inspected the RV was owned by the movie director. God, what's his name? He lives here in Austin. Robert Rodriguez. He directed like Spy Kids and Sin City and all that stuff. Anyway, it was his RV, and this guy who was buying it was like this big movie buff, and he was so excited, and he was like buying this like really big piece of memorabilia. And I was like, so I took the inspection, and I was like, I don't really care. It's just an RV to me. But I was like, kind of, that you're going to break this dude's heart if something's wrong with it. And I found a bullet hole in the ceiling, and it was actually a bullet hole. Like, not it looked like a bullet hole, it was a bullet
Like
hole.
a blast from the
And
past.
it was so the story is that Danny Trejo, who plays Machete, was screwing around with a gun in the trailer and fired it,
Oh
and they
my.
patched it but did like a crappy job. This is the story, so everybody knows. I don't know if it's literally true. I do know that it was a gunshot hole in the roof, and there's no debating that. Question is who did it, but then you have to call the guy and be like, hey man, I know you're really excited about it. The roof is totally rotten. Like, there's literally a blast hole through the ceiling. They didn't seal it right. It's gonna need a new roof. And
Yeah.
then he terminated the inspection, and then they decided to put a new roof on it. And then I went out to inspect it again, and I was like, we didn't finish it the first time. And I went to go inspect it again. I'm like, there's a lot of signs of frame failure here, buddy. Like the front cap, there's a crack in the, he still bought it. It was still for him. But like the whole time you're carrying around, because he wanted the memorabilia. He wanted this dude's trailer.
Yep.
And the whole time though, when it's a VIP like that or there's something personal in it, you like carry that around with you
Right.
the
It's
whole
different.
time.
It's not just your client. It's somebody that's like, it's like they're special. And it's because, I've watched a lot of Mark's videos, and, he's big at the school, and he also has quite a big following. So you're like, I better not screw it up.
Yeah, because they'll trash inspectors forever. Do you ever get people?
I know.
Do you ever get people that hire you just because you're you? Like they've seen you on YouTube and they're like, "Hey, I've seen you on YouTube. You're
All
gonna."
the time now. All the time. It's,
So
go
yeah,
ahead.
it's tough, right? I was gonna say it's tough when they do it, right?
Well, it's only tough when they say, can you come all the way to Ohio, or can you come to Georgia? And I have to say, I'm not anywhere near those states, but I can give you RV help, and you can find it.
Right.
And then the other part of that is, I wish I could do it, but I always tell them, you don't want to, I mean, the fees that I'm going to have to put on. And to be honest, I tried doing the flying. I did fly to Oregon to do an inspection. I really thought it was cool at first that I would fly. And I think we mentioned this, or you mentioned it on another podcast, but I thought it was really cool at first, but it was so much work. It was so much more time consuming. My flight got delayed. I didn't get in until so late that night, and I got lost. I could hardly see on these dark roads, and I was exhausted because I'd gotten up really early. Then I had the inspection right the next morning, and I had to drive an hour to get to it. So it was really a lot more than I thought it would be. And it's something that I really have had to think about. Do I want to fly somewhere for people? I think there's a
Yeah,
lot of great
it's
inspectors out there. And because we have a following and we get those people that want us to do it, I would love to know more inspectors better, because to refer people, I really want to know if they're a good inspector. And
right.
there are good inspectors I have met, and I can say like if I get, and I don't know if how this is going to go over, but when I get California, I'll always say Brad, because I personally know Brad. I know he's done a ton of inspections. He's good at it. I've been with Brad. I have seen him work. I have talked to him many times, so I can trust to send somebody to him. But I don't know these other inspectors. So if I meet them and I learn about them and see them, I can find that I have a little bit more trust, or I guess a feeling that I can recommend them. But some of the other people, I have to be honest and say, you have to go to RV Help, and I would just really look at the reviews and look at all these other aspects to find who you want.
Yeah, Debbie, you're a member of my RV inspector shadow government, and that room is like, that's it. Those are like the inspectors whom I know and I've kind of vetted, and Brad is one that, and there's a couple people that I invited that didn't come, but Brad is one that like would have been on there. He's out of California, but when, and I do the same thing a lot of times. Like if it's not one of those like 7 people, I'm like, hey, I'll be like, so if it was you, I'd be like, hey, like when you look it up, I go to RV Help, but you might notice this person, and I
Right,
know that person.
right.
So, but like, make your own decision, but
Hmm.
just realize this is where, because you don't. I don't like to give personal endorsements, but I might steer people. Like I had somebody, like we're talking about travel inspections. They reached out to me a year ago, and they're a follower, and they said, hey, a year from now, I'm going to buy an RV. Will you come to Tampa? And I was like, yeah, I will, but it's going to cost a lot more. And so they finally reached out. They found the RV they wanted, and they said, hey, it's time. Will you come down here? We quoted it out, and it was going to be like, because it's not just the inspection, it's the inspection and the day off you have to take for travel. That's really 2 days. It's 2 inspections. Then
Yep.
it's the cost of the flight and the hotel, and like I rent a car and I have to rent a ladder, and then the time it takes to do all of those things, right?
Hmm.
So it's almost like a week of work that you're condensing into like 2 days. And so like we quoted out to him, and he's like, no, I really want it to be you. And I was like, okay, Tampa. When you look at RV Help, you might notice there's a master inspector there.
Uh-huh.
I was like, you might consider thinking about that when you're making your buying decision. And I've done that a couple times for Pennsylvania, where there happens to be a master inspector.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
and
Very good.
I've done that a couple times, but I don't ever say hire the man. I say they're there. You should see what
Hmm.
they're doing, right?
Hmm.
But when it comes to like people that see us and they're like, and there's a difference. There's kind of 2 groups of people. Like there's somebody's like, oh, I saw you. I think you're a good inspector. Can you come out and do this? Sure. And then there's, hey, we're fans
Yeah.
and we really want you. And like I love it. I'm so grateful to them. But like I almost feel like I have to like live up to this like internet persona, and if I disappoint
Yes.
them at all, I'm like disappointing them as fans.
Right.
And that's like a whole other like psychological thing. I just did an inspection on like Saturday for someone, and they were fans, and they've been fans for a while, and they were so nice, so such cool people. But like they just want to talk to you because they're excited because it's you. They made the guy from the internet appear at their house, and they just want to like talk to you, and you're like, I have a job to do, so I need you to stop, but we can hang out after. But then you're hanging out after, and it's like 3 hours, and you're like, I gotta go home and write this report. I gotta go be with my family. So it's it's it's
Oh, my YouTuber friend calls it verbal vomiting. And she does not do meetups because And I did my first meetup this year, and I offered it because I felt that my channel was still kind of small enough where I could say, I'm in Quartzsite, and if you want to meet, let me know. And my friend had told me, who's a very experienced YouTuber, and she said, yeah, they'll do. The problem is that when you meet these people, they have been watching you for all these years. They know all about you, and they have stored up all this information about themselves, and they just want to dump it on you. The problem is that that energy is like it just comes at you, and they drain your energy out, and you go home feeling like a rag. Like, yeah, you're sitting there 3 hours while they're just giving you everything, their whole life history, and it's really depleting. But you feel so grateful to them because they are fans, they're really nice people, they're wonderful, and you give them your time. But yeah, it's a lot, and I can't imagine. I don't know that I could do a meetup like that with a big group of people, because even though I'm very social, if it's like a huge crowd and it's like a massive amount of socializing, I get completely depleted from that. It's like too much.
Yeah, I have, so like we're at this RV resort right now, and I like it a lot, and kind of we have an arrangement with them where we provide, like, we did some videos for them, we did some in-person classes for them, and then we got a partially comped stay.
Mhm.
And when we got here, nobody really, we had a couple of fans, people who were aware of us when we got here. But then as soon as it was like, oh, Mike and Elizabeth from Cozy Camper are going to be here, they all got their phones out, they all looked us up, they all pressed follow, and then they started to watch us.
Mhm.
And like we went from being like, oh, like we kind of don't know who these people are, to like they know everything about us, everything. And it's like I'm just a guy who fixes RVs, right? Like I'm not Tom Cruise. Like I didn't grow up in this. Like this is still a very new thing for me. And like kind of like I was talking to my family about it. It's like if I'm in an RV park, it's like you're a lot of times it's almost like you're almost like a celebrity, like
Yeah.
walking through Hollywood, right? And like
Yes.
people are like, oh my god, like I saw that celebrity at Starbucks. But then the second I leave the campground, I'm just a regular nobody.
Yeah.
And it's almost because like literally one time Elizabeth was walking, the first time she ever used a campground shower, she's walking back like with her hair wet and she's got her
Oh my
clothes,
God.
and somebody's like, you're Elizabeth from Cozy Camper, I know, I watch you on TV. And she's like, I'll never do it again. She's like, I'll never use a campground shower again for as long as we're
That
RVers.
happened to me too, and it was just this summer or winter. I get confused on seasons. Um, I was coming out of the shower and I had my hair wrapped up in a towel thing. And what I would do is
Mm-hmm.
I would do that, and then I would just go across the street and go into my RV. And somebody literally ran up to me and they said, Deb, and I just watched you on YouTube and I'm having a problem with this. And I'm like, I literally just got out of the shower and I feel really weird right now because I'm in my like pajamas and I have my towel up on my head. It was so bizarre that I had to call my other YouTuber friend and say, I know what you mean now. It's really weird. You don't know them and they just come at you. And it's kind of weird.
And like I want to hang out with people. Like I'm like this friendly dog. Like I want to be buddies and like
Yeah.
hang out and
Yeah.
stuff. But like you only, and if we're hanging out at the campground, right? Like it's like whatever, they're having music tonight and we're hanging out having a good time. Sweet. I don't have an objection to it, but it's like if you're running up to me and you're like, bah, like let me interrupt your. We've had people knock on the door, like no joke. People have knocked on our door like while we're eating dinner for repair service, which I get. It's urgent to them, but like, oh, you're Cozy Camp. We got to have some boundaries here, bro.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
but that is something that I think a lot of people look at you and me, and then there's a couple other people sort of in our cast or our brotherhood
Uh-huh.
that do this stuff, and like that's the kind of stuff that you don't expect when you're. And I was talking to Steve from Mobile RV Tech about this, and so you and I are inspectors. He's a technician,
Okay.
and he doesn't really get a lot of business from social media. Most of his clients are repeat people that he's been working with for a few years now. Like he's in Michigan, on the East Coast,
Is he on the east
and
side?
what's that?
He's on the east side?
Yeah, he's on
Oh, that's the
the
west. Okay.
No. He's east. Sorry, it's backwards because we're
Oh, okay.
through a string. But yeah, he's yeah, the Michigan hand thing.
Okay.
But so yeah, he's on the east side. But like he gets most of his businesses repeat. Like people have them open the RV at the beginning and then winterize it at the end, and then anything that goes wrong. So he doesn't kind of have this come up. Whereas like you and I as inspectors, like everybody's a new client, everyone.
Mhm.
So like people like might watch you for 2 years and then be like, when we buy our next RV, it's Deb.
Mhm.
And then like the time comes and they're just like so excited to talk to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey man, we gotta pump our brakes. We gotta pump our brakes a little bit here. And even like, I'll tell you this because we're running out of time. But like when I was the police, I met all manner of celebrity and politicians, right? And the politicians and celebrities that you could like interface with, if you were just like, hey man, how are you, and you weren't like a big deal, they were so cool. And we had this big thing where all these politicians came once, and I didn't meet them all, but it was like Senator Ted Cruz. We hung out in the green room for like 30 minutes, just cracking jokes. It was great, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Senator Cornyn, couldn't get him to look at us, right? Like he was not interested to talk to us at all. My friends who worked at presidential detail, they were like, Bill was cool, Hillary wasn't, right? And it's like, Bill's in there like cracking jokes, but Hillary wasn't cool. Nancy Pelosi, I met her. She was great. She was the sweetest lady. And regardless of politics, she was so
Yeah.
nice,
Isn't
nice to
that
all the
neat?
cops.
Yeah.
And but like every time, like if you're like starstruck and you're like, ah, I'm so excited to talk to you, you're gonna like, nobody is prepared for that energy. And I have not yet really, because like you said, when we go to a meetup, like we've done a few at the campground here, and I love doing it. I love teaching the classes. I love work the crowd. I have so much fun. But then I'll get back here and I'll just pass out on the couch,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm done. I'm spent.
Done.
I don't want to go in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go anywhere the next day.
Mhm.
I'm totally done. I have never done a content creator meetup. They there's one coming up in Pennsylvania. There's going to be one in Florida next year. I've never done one.
Me either.
Because I don't know that I can't handle it.
I
Right?
feel
Like
like it's a bunch of extroverts in a room, and I just like, I don't know, because I know there's a lot of introverted people that actually create content, but at the same time, I feel like so many of these people are just these big extroverts, and they just want to network, and everything's about that, and I just feel like it's big energy suck, and I don't know
yeah, the
either.
it's funny you mentioned that because I did a podcast recently with Jason Epperson from RV Miles, and he's, I don't know if you follow them. They're huge in the space,
Hmm.
and he was like, I'd never talked to him before, and I expected him to be this like bubbly kind of effervescent guy, like, and he was like super nice dude. We had great conversation, but he was like very
So,
chill. You could tell he's an introverted guy, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect
I didn't
that.
expect that. Right.
I didn't expect that from him, but like as being someone that like, you know, Joe, like somebody watches us on YouTube is to me as I am to Jason, right? So like where he's this much kind of louder voice, more established, and like I was like excited to talk to him and meet to him, but I'm like I can't radiate that when I'm talking to him because he's gonna feel that, and there's no way to
Right.
you're not gonna foster a relationship that way.
Yeah, it is. It's really something. And I met a lot of content creators that they have burnout too. They isolate, and there is a loneliness about being a content creator. And I feel that as a single person because I spend so much of my time. I'm either out there doing this inspection, and then I'm huddled in here. I might be doing work or the report or whatever because I still can't finish it. And then next thing I'm doing after that is I'm online making a video, and I'm recording, and I'm waiting for the right opportunity, and then I'm editing, and I'm sitting in front of my computer. Like literally yesterday, I think that I had 6 takes of a video because I did a whole thing and decided to scrap it, and then I did another type, and I had it again on slow mo. And then the other one was that thought I was hitting record, and it was actually on the stop button, and when I thought I was stopped, I was actually on record.
Yep.
It's like gets to the point where you just want to go, ah, and throw your microphone and say, forget it. So there's a lot of time spent isolated, sitting, doing this stuff by yourself. So it is a little bit isolating. And
You
go ahead.
you don't have like water cooler talk like at work, right? There's
Right.
no social outlet. Like I don't really like it's when I see another inspector on an RV lot, I'm like, yes! Like I'm
Right.
so excited to see you. And then
Right.
I'm like, how did you get this? How did you get that lead? And I didn't, right? Uh, but like, where did this come from?
Yeah. Wait a
And
minute.
yeah, I have to learn how to get this
I
from
didn't
you.
know you were my competition.
But then, yeah, you're like so much time. It's like it's 9:20 here, right? Like as soon as this is done, I'm shutting the laptop and I'm going to bed, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm flipping
And
on Netflix.
exactly, and like, but like, so tomorrow I've got to drive to an inspection.
Yep.
It's about 2 hours away, so
Yep.
I'll leave here at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
I'll drive almost 2 hours away to go to this inspection. I'll get home; it'll be almost dark out.
Mhm.
Knock out the got to knock out the report, and
Or-
then like right before I did this, I was sitting here making I'm like doing graphic design and like making a new Facebook page cover so that to reflect that we're about to move to Illinois, right?
Yep.
And so like you're it's like a you're pushing the boulder up the hill constantly forever, and like people think I think people see people like you and me and they're like, oh my god, those guys must like be doing so much inspections and like they must make so much money. I make almost no money from social media. Like we get a lot of leads from it, but like I don't get so many leads that I could like, maybe I could afford to hire one person, right? But like I can only go for a couple weeks in Illinois without an inspection before we got to make some tough choices, right?
Yep.
And and like it helps. It's what we do is like being tall in basketball. You don't need it, but it helps.
Right.
And
Right.
and it's like it's I mean when I say I make like I make literally no money from social media, like nothing.
Yeah. The most I made on YouTube now, I had my first biggest month. I made $670. And
Yeah, I
that was huge for me. Out of all the
right.
years I've been doing it, that's the hugest check I made. And it was because there are certain times that the ads will pay more per ad. And if you get the views, and I had a few videos go not viral, but viral for me, and where I
Hmm.
was in like the 60,000 views or something. So because of that, I had a big check. But do you know how much work I put in and effort? Like to make six, like that's less than one inspection. I don't, but
Right.
it pays off in the end. I do get leads. I do get myself out there. And as my channel grows, I have a friend that does YouTube and that's all she does. And she makes, over 100 grand doing that. And that's her job. And you have to put in so much time if you really want to make it work. And I'm trying to do that in between my inspections. So my videos aren't more than 10 minutes long because I can't create that kind of content for people. I don't have time.
That's why I do this, right? Because it's like, all right, we can hang out and talk and people will listen to us or they won't, right?
Yep.
And like kind of the future is I'll ask more people that are remote to come and do the podcast. And just by doing that enough repetition, because this doesn't require a whole lot of editing either, right? Because the
Right.
AI will do it for me. It takes me about 20 minutes to edit this, but like we don't do a lot of long form content for that reason. Like I can make a reel in 25 minutes, put out, they're only 60 seconds long, and I can put it out there. And like we had 2 million views this last month,
Wow.
and on but on Meta, so we had like 2 million views. That's like $1,000. Like it's not, it's not like a huge amount of money. Like I'm not sneezing at it, but
Right. So
people
good.
think like I shared it, like, oh yeah, I think at that point we were at 1.6 million views, and like I'm so proud of it, I love it, but like you're not getting rich.
You're not rolling in the dough by any means. Nothing. Nothing.
No.
Nothing. Nothing.
And we have had, eventually when I can free some time up my schedule or hire like a crew or something, we kind of want to do like almost more like a reality show where like kind of the A story is like me doing the inspection and the B story is like Elizabeth running the business and doing this. But like that's we're business owners first, content creators second. So until I have the time to break that out, like I'm not going to do that because it's more important. I don't make any money from that. Like I have to go provide a service in the real world before I can spend some time, you know, playing reindeer
But
games.
it's so fun
On
sometimes. Don't you have all these ideas and you think, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but you don't have time for it. It's like there's so many ideas.
Yeah, I was talking to my best friend in Chicago about this the other day, and I said we should do a series where like he interrupts dressed as like a dealership employee, like otherwise mundane videos, and then we have like a series of escalating battles, right? So like the first one he could run me over like Bruce Willis and Ving Rhames in Pulp Fiction, like I'm carrying the donuts into a dealership, and he could like run me over. And then like the next one, he could be like Agent Smith from The Matrix, and we could have like a fist fight in front
Yes.
of the dealership, right? And but then I'm like, I also don't have time to like choreograph a fist fight in front of Camping World, right? Like that's that's I also don't need to get arrested doing this stuff. So but yeah, like you have so many great ideas, but you're like, golly, I just don't have time. But also, like I'm aware that there are other people coming up that will eventually like do what I do better, right? Like
100%. I'm just
like
waiting
they're
for it.
on their
Yep,
yeah,
they're on their way. They're
they're on
thinking it
their
up.
way, and
Yep.
they see what I do and they're like, oh, I can probably do that better. And like my whole thing is I'm like, oh, well, you just won't, I will not let anyone outwork me. So if some inspector came and was like, oh, Mike does a video every day, I'll do a video every day. Then I would say, I'll do 2 videos a day. Right. Like, and then if a guy comes and says, I'll do 2 videos, I'll do 3 videos a day. Right. Like, that was kind of like YouTube was like, all right, cool. Deb exists on YouTube. So, I'm
I'm
going
gonna do
to
better than
grow
them.
on, yeah, I was like, I have to, there's another YouTube inspector, and there's another one, and I was like, oh, they have 10,000 followers. I need 80,000 followers, right? Um,
Right.
so I was like, I won't stop until I've completely eclipsed
Gotta
him.
pass them up, right?
Yeah, and
It's
but
so funny.
that's yeah,
But you know
that's
what?
it.
The whole thing is they don't have your personality, your humor. You have your own set of why people follow you. It's you. It's your personality. Just like I'm not everybody's cup of tea either, and somebody else might come along that they like their personality better, and but there's people that are drawn to my personality. It just, that's why we can have many people out there, and you have many different types of personalities and how they present their material, and it all works. It's all good.
You follow the same rule that I do. I've noticed when I watch your content, right? Where you come to your camper, and that's where you talk to the camera, and you like, hey, this is what I found on this inspection. The video you gather there, right? Which you need the
Yep.
video anyway, sometimes for your report, right? I do the
Yep.
same thing, except what I'll do is at the very end of the day, I take my camera out, and I'm like, hey, this is what I found. This is what I opined, but I do it inside the RV where no one else can hear me, right?
Yes.
And there are some people that are in the same sphere as us, and they'll just shit talk the dealership and the manufacturer out on the
Mhm.
lot floor, and
Yep.
you can see the dealership employees walking around behind them. And we've gotten to a point where I don't even say anymore, like when I do a reel about an RV that I've inspected, I don't say what dealer I was at. I don't say what brand the RV is. You might watch the reel and be able to discern it's a Brinkley or a Keystone or something. But I don't say. I used to say like, oh, this 2025 Keystone, right?
Hmm.
I don't anymore
So you don't
because
even
I'm
do
like,
that. Okay.
nope. I'll just say it's a brand new fifth wheel. And
Oh,
I didn't used to do that. I used to
okay.
say I used to label the video what year, make, and model it
Yeah.
was. But then I was like, I'm kind of like shitting on this manufacturer when I do that, and it's sort of not fair to them because it's like a hit piece, right? So
Right. We have to be careful of that because there is a lot of controversy out there, and you have other content creators that are bringing a lot of attention, and there's a lot of people that are just ready to just like, "Arr." So then in retaliation, they're going to want to go after who they can go after.
right,
And, that's the thing. I want to showcase what I'm doing, and, what feeds the algorithm and what gets your views are the things that are more dramatic. And you've got to be able to create it in a way where you're not putting down a dealership and naming them. You can't name somebody like that and get away with it, really. But you have to do it in a way where it just showcases what you find. These are the facts. I found
right.
delamination, and I found holes in the ceiling and the jacks didn't work or whatever. And this is it. My client, I helped save them blah blah amount of money, and then you just tell the story that way. And you can still get the views and you still can show your work, and you're not pointing fingers at people and getting into fights.
Right.
Or getting banned.
That's like getting banned from RV dealerships, right? Like you don't want that, and that reflects on everybody, and you definitely don't want to like get proud of it after you get banned, right? Like
Right.
that's shockingly bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they do it, but all right. So we should probably wrap it up. Deb, where are you going to be, and how can people find you?
Well, people can find me by going to my website at debsrvservices.net, and on there I always showcase my location. And I am going to be in Arizona until the end of April, and then in May I'm going to be in Colorado for 1 month, and then I will spend the summer in Michigan, and I will be working the Metro Detroit area.
Right on. Well, Debbie, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It was so nice meeting you actually in person.
Yeah, not during one of our shadow government meetings. All right. Thanks, Debbie.